All right, welcome to a special holiday edition of Teaching Crypto, AZcrypto with Mr. FOMO, two-man show, back at it again. Hit that like, hit that subscribe bell notification. What are you waiting for? Super chats are alive. We got you back for a big show here as Bitcoin is chilling here at 109K. Mr. FOMO, we didn't talk about this off the air, but what do you think Bitcoin was 12 months ago today? What would be your guess?
12 months ago today? Oh, I don't even remember. 60,000? I don't know.
No. Believe it or not, 12 months ago today, the exact price as we are speaking would have been $49,121.21. I still remember.
Seems like such a long time ago.
I was in a room with you 23 months ago, and we were talking about, do you think Bitcoin's a good deal right now at 26K? And here we are. And here we are. We talked about on the show 2 years ago. Wow, that guys, these prices are steals if you think about it long term. Here we are at 109. We'll talk about some future prices. I'm still confident in my 150 to 180 price range prediction for this bull run over the next 5 months. And I think we're about to see if I'm crazy or correct soon, because I think we're going to see some action in the month of June. So let's break down the news. The Trump Media Group is raising $3 billion to buy Bitcoin. Now, you might say, well, you never know if Trump is going to follow through or if his media company is going to follow through. But this is the current sitting president offering to buy $3 billion or trying to buy $3 billion of Bitcoin. You can't poo-poo this. I mean, 8 years ago, 4 years ago, this would have been insane to have the sitting United States media company raise money. You made a great point off the air. $3 billion is not what it once was, but I think this is still significant.
$3 billion is a drop in the bucket when it comes, and really what I was talking about is when it comes to Bitcoin's market cap, because like we talked about off the air, it takes about $1 trillion to move it $50,000, as far as the 1 trillion into the market cap to move it $50,000 as far as the price is concerned. So, you know, this, because it's Trump, because of the people who follow him, because of the people that will fall in lockstep and do what he does, I get excited about that. But 3 billion, as far as Bitcoin is concerned, is kind of a drop in the bucket to me. It's not going to move the price that much, and that's if they buy OTC.
Well, I still think the news is kind of big here, because you're seeing now GameStop, Sailor bought again this morning, even though it was a holiday. And now the media groups, and there's a Japanese company now that is trying to quickly buy as much Bitcoin as they can in small amounts. So you're slow. Again, we're early in adoption here.
I think that's the biggest point.
This is like the internet of the 90s. Right. I still, yeah. And I don't want to scare people, but the money supply is continuing to go up. You're seeing how much things cost. That's not changing. And I wish I had brought this up. I sent you a text earlier this weekend, and let me pull it up on my phone and read it. And this was crazy. So 5 years ago in 2020, the purchasing power of $100 at that point was 100. That same 100 now has the purchasing power of $76.
Yeah, you've lost 24% of your purchasing power.
In 2020, if you would have put $100 into Bitcoin, people forget how low Bitcoin was 5 years ago before the bull run ramped up. We're looking at 9K prices. Your Bitcoin right now would be worth $1,201, that $100 you put into Bitcoin. And so in the title underneath it was, once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's the reality. Now, your claim is Bitcoin can't keep rising as quickly moving forward over the next 5 to 10 years. I don't know if that's true. I think the money supply is just going to have to keep skyrocketing.
The money supply is going to keep skyrocketing, but I don't think that all that money is going to pour into Bitcoin, especially not just yet, especially where we are as far as, early adoption and whatnot. But yeah, I totally understand that the money supply is going to continue to grow, and some of that money is going to find its way into Bitcoin. I just don't. I'm not sold on the idea that all of it's going to fall into Bitcoin. Like
So
we
what
keep
if
seeing these things where it talks about banks and the trillions of dollars that they hold in investments and how they're starting to get into Bitcoin. But even then, their boots on the ground people aren't telling their retirement investors to get into Bitcoin. We're still a
they're
ways
starting
off.
to?
We're still a ways off from that.
Things takes time.
Yeah.
But what if you could trade and use Bitcoin without worrying about taxes? Well, state of Florida this morning proposes eliminating capital gains taxes on Bitcoin, XRP, and stocks. This doesn't mean it's happening, but I've heard some rumors that the governor is in favor of this. So that's different. When the governor wants something and his friends are in the government, that could help. I'm not saying this is a done deal by any means, but if the governor came out and said, no, we're not doing this, then there's no reason in even putting it on the air. But it wouldn't shock me if a state like Florida, which really, really wants to capture as many investors as possible, would do something like this. I'm not saying it's going to happen, and I still need to understand how this works federally. Can you, as a state, say there are no taxes on Bitcoin sold in the state? And does that hold up
That's
federally?
my question,
That's,
because Florida doesn't have state taxes.
I understand, but if Bitcoin was legal tender in the state, I don't think it would apply to so when you go to take your kids to the movies, and if you were to spend Bitcoin, then that would not be right now, that would be Steak and Shake is accepting Bitcoin, right?
Okay.
So if you take your family to Steak and Shake, which I would not recommend, honestly. Last time I was there,
I
not so
will.
great.
They got
But
beef
anyways,
tallow fries. Those things are good.
or you know what? Maybe I was wrong. But you take, I was thinking of IHOP. Forget it. Anyway, it's been a while since we've done this two-man show. You take your family to Steak and Shake right now and use that Bitcoin, then that Bitcoin is a taxable transaction. You wouldn't want to do it. You wouldn't want to spend the Bitcoin like that. It doesn't make sense.
Well, I don't think
But
anybody
if
would
the
want to do
state
that
says,
anyway. You'd be one of those people that ended up buying, like that guy that ended up buying that
yeah,
$10,000 pizza or whatever it's grown to now. When he bought pizza with Bitcoin.
billions. But if the state says this is legal tender and it's not a taxable event, then technically, yes. No matter what platform you're on, if you're selling Bitcoin into fiat, then it's not taxable. It's not. There's no capital gains because you're using it as tender. So that is interesting, and we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. It could be a huge publicity stunt, but it could draw a ton of investors into the state. Imagine all the people in California that look at this and say, "Wait a minute now."
Right. If I'm a person who makes a lot of money and there's some way that I can get out of paying capital gains on my stocks, and I mean Bitcoin and
Oh yeah.
XRP as well, but if there's a way that I can get out of it, I'm going to find a way to make my address Florida.
Forget about XRP, Bitcoin and stocks.
Right.
Imagine the just in California alone, the wealth. They might say, "Wait a minute here. Do I go and move for a couple of years and make this happen?" It makes a lot of sense. I mean, people have moved to Puerto Rico. We know the one guy that has the show, right? Who was in Voyager as well. He moved to Puerto Rico just because of Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll have to wait and see. All right, now let's get you angry. Not angry, but let's test you here, Mr. FOMO. Okay? Because the Chartered Bank has changed their Bitcoin targets. All right. Well, let's go through these one by one. So, first thing, and I'll get your 200K in 2025. I personally don't think that's crazy. I'm still looking at 150 to 180, but it would not shock me. Would I be pleasantly surprised if we got to 200? Yes. But I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I can't believe we got here in 2025. I wouldn't. What is your reaction to the first prediction?
First of all, this is ignoring the cycle. right? This ignores the bull
Well,
run,
no,
the bear
they
run.
would be saying the 200,000. Yeah, for this year, no, but for the rest of them, yes. You're right.
So this
Yeah.
is this falls under the idea of the broken cycle theory, and which
Mm-hmm.
I don't fall for that. I still think we will have
Not
our
yet.
cycles. I don't think we've gotten to a point of mass adoption where we can break that cycle.
But it's getting closer and closer.
It is, but I don't think we're there yet. I think we're still
Okay.
going to have a bear market. We're still going to have another opportunity to pick up some cheap Bitcoin. Maybe not,
Well, when you say cheap,
definitely not
what is
as
your
cheap,
definition of
definitely
cheap?
not as cheap as it was during the last bear market, but certainly not. I certainly don't see it being 200,000 in 2025 and 2026. You're talking about off years where we would be in a
Well,
bear.
this year is still part of the bull run. No, this year,
I mean, sorry,
traditionally the top.
2026 and
Yeah,
2027, you'd be solidly in a bear market.
beginning of 27, yes. Mid 27 would be the start. Would be the start of
So this
technically
what they're saying is
forming a
you
new top.
you either buy Bitcoin now or you're never getting the opportunity again because it's just or not the opportunity again, but you're not going to get it at this price ever again. And I just don't
I don't
buy
think
it.
the 2028. I don't think the 2028 prediction is that outlandish. I'm not predicting it, but I just think you, not just you, but the U.S. population doesn't understand how much money is being printed in the background and what's going on and what the Fed actually does. I mean, you realize the Pentagon couldn't account for $2 trillion. And then and the budget is the highest it's ever been, but that's the reported budget. That's not the real budget. You can't be that naive. So where is this money coming from? It's being printed out of thin air. And as time goes, more and more of it will get invested into Bitcoin. The kids, the kid today, the people in their 20s and early 30s, they're not going to be buying gold as they accumulate more wealth. They are going to be getting Bitcoin. I'm just the numbers are what they are, right? You've gone from 9,000 in 1 year to over 100,000, and so you're seeing more and more real money, not the guy that's throwing in $2,000. Well, that's important. You want retail, but you're seeing the guy that has enough to throw in 200, 300, 400. The real players, they're slowly starting to go in, and I think that's going to increase. I do think, and I believe this, just like Michael Saylor, Bitcoin will be the gold of the next generation. And you are
Oh,
going to
yeah.
see these prices.
You are going to see these prices. I just don't think they're that soon. Remember, to move Bitcoin $50,000 in price, you've got to have $1 trillion in market cap. And $1 trillion, even though they're printing trillions, and I don't argue that point, it's just not going to find its way into Bitcoin in mass. It's going to trickle
So
in here and
what is
there.
Bitcoin competing with? What is Bitcoin competing with? Gold, real estate, and traditional stocks. Traditional stocks, you've seen already people be very upset. They've realized they're not getting the
Right.
return. Property, I agree. It's still an amazing investment, but have you seen how expensive properties have become? And you have to maintain them.
That's another
That's
bubble that's going to
expensive.
burst. But yes, you're right. A
Okay.
property, real estate is a great investment, and that's a competitor for Bitcoin. But you're right. There is a maintenance cost to that, and
There is a maintenance.
when you look at the
So most
investment that
traditional
is
people have bought property. Most traditional people have thrown their money into property. That might not be as easy in the future, right? Less properties to buy because of people like BlackRock,
or
and these
or
properties now are
property can be
expensive.
tokenized. If property is tokenized, then you see
There you
something
go.
happen.
There you go. There you
I mean,
go.
that's what's
So
happening.
I
I
don't think
forget where you sent me a text or a tweet that was I forget it was Dubai or somebody like that. Somebody was trying to tokenize property on the XRP
yeah,
blockchain.
we'll pull it up. We'll pull it up. It's happening. Now again, we're early on some we are early because there's still a long way to go, right? But You're slowly seeing it happening, and if you're telling me that it's not happening,
I just don't
then
see it from where we are now. You're talking about $8 trillion pouring into Bitcoin over the next 3 years.
I think it's going to take 4 minimum. Minimum 4 years, yes.
But you're talking about 2 trillion a year. No more cycle. No more.
No.
Bear market.
I think we'll have a bit of a bear, but I wouldn't shock me if in the bear Bitcoin doesn't go below 100K. The bottom might be 100, and the top next time might be $400,000 to $500,000.
I don't.
That's what I'm telling you. That's what. Well, listen. I wish I had your belief in the government that you do, that this money isn't just being printed at record pace.
No, I
But it
understand
is.
that. I just don't think. I think that people are spending their money at the grocery store more than they've had to in the past. Not just the grocery store, but on everything more than they've had to in the past. And I just don't think that they have that kind of extra money that they
You're right.
did.
You're right. People are.
Um,
But the people that have disposable income, that it's becoming a younger and younger group as the years goes by. Those people are more drawn to Bitcoin than they are traditional stocks, and that's where I think we're
as
going
they
to
should
see a
be.
transfer of wealth.
As they should be. I'm not arguing that Bitcoin's not going to grow over the next 4 years. I just don't think that 8 trillion is coming in over the next 4 years. I would be ecstatic if I was wrong. I would love it. Listen, if we reach 300,000 in this bull run, I'll do a show every day.
Well, you said that about 100K. Be
But
careful.
Plan B,
We
Plan
won't.
B has us going to 300K this bull run, and
He does,
and
I think that's.
I think that if you
Well,
are,
unless the only way that happens is if the US actually goes through and sells the gold for Bitcoin, and then other countries do. If game theory happens, then 300K can happen just like that, right? You're talking about global wealth and countries buying, not just wealthy individuals. And you're talking about a race, knowing it's a limited amount. Um, so I agree with you. Maybe these predictions are a bit too aggressive over a smaller amount of time. But the reality is the money supply is only going to get higher and higher. I can only imagine 10 years from now, what is the money supply going to be compared to what it is today? 10, 20, 30, 50 times what it is. And now you see the people who have disposable income, the real money, that will be pouring into Bitcoin. And I think that's where you're going to see the real growth. And then you're going to see regular people saying, let me get as much as I can. Let me get as much as I can. Because
well, I mean,
and
I'm not arguing that people should be doing that. Right now, people should be getting as much Bitcoin. Well, maybe not right now, but when the buying opportunities, like when we had that dip into the 70s, people should be buying as much Bitcoin as they can during those times. Don't bankrupt yourself, but whatever dry powder you have, throw into the fire. It is.
Well, Bitcoin is really, to be effective, a 4 to 8 to 12-year commitment. You made that great Bitcoin video. Maybe we should link it. What is Bitcoin? Here's the secret. Bitcoin is, unless you get great timing, kind of boring, because you might not see a lot of movement or positive movement for months. But when it happens over time, it's gigantic. So if you had put, imagine the person that did have 49K in their savings account and left it there, their spending power is not 49K. This is back in 2020. But imagine if that person put that into Bitcoin right now, their spending power is over 100K. That is a gigantic difference in someone's life. Yeah, that's a gigantic difference in someone's life. So that's kind of what we're talking about. But really, to get the true benefits, you want to hold for 8 to 12 years. Now, we'll be taking profits this cycle, but the reality is if you really wanted to maximize your profits, it's really an 8 to 12-year commitment to really, really get the true benefits. You don't even, you had bought 8 years ago right now. You got a huge smile on your face. By the way,
You bought a
before we
year ago
leave,
right now. You're sitting pretty.
Steve Ehrlich has started blocking ex-Voyager customers. Steve, and this is not a basketball show, but I'm glad your Knicks have choked 2 out of the first 3 games of the Eastern Conference, because and I'm also glad that you can block as many people as you want. You're still a rodent, you're still a rat, and you're a thief. And even if you're not in jail like the other guys are, we're gonna still keep it real. And you can block me and block MrFOMO as much as you want. What you did is still classless, and you haven't taken any accountability, and that's not changing.
I 100% agree. I really don't interact with him, man. I haven't been chasing him down on Twitter, so I doubt he's blocked me yet because he's had no reason to. But I'm sure after this show, if he sees it, he'll find me and block me.
Well, he once was watching the show during the bankruptcy.
Not even the fact that it just plain stupidity to give a $650 million uncollateralized loan to a company like 3AC.
Not a company, a couple guys.
Yeah, a couple of guys in 3AC. It makes no sense. And the way, I mean, Voyager was going so well and had such a good community, and we were robbed of much more than just our assets. We were robbed of something that was building into something great. And so even if he doesn't spend time in jail, he hurts so many people with this that I hope that the karma finds him.
Well, we're not going to relive the whole thing all over again. But right before bankruptcy, he did get on a space and try to sell VGX 2.0,
and he knew
while they
full
were
well that they were going under, that they were in trouble, and he was doing it as a money grab.
Yeah. It's too bad. I hope you guys that you're still with us and you're using this show to really benefit. By the way, before we leave, iOS network is still a steal at 43 cents. I'm going to keep saying it and saying it and saying it, because at some point this year, I expect it to get to $2. And no, it's not the only alt that's going to run. And I do hold some iOS network, but I'm just letting you guys know that's one of the safer ones. And you can get ETH right now for under 2,600. I know it's kind of boring, but very steady. So I want you guys to do your own research, but think about all the opportunities that are still up there, because the alt season has not started yet.
Are we going
and I have a feeling by tonight. I think it's going to be between now and October. It's going to be very fast, quick. It's going to be super fast. And you know what the alt season is going to be? One day this token runs. The next day this one does. The money is just going to keep circulating and circulating. There are so many tokens. This is not like 8 years ago where there were just 200 tokens. Those days are never coming back until there is much more regulation. And we've seen how slow it is to get regulation.
And that's why I just don't I just don't think that alt season is going to be quick and dynamic. I think it's going to be quick, and I think it's going
to be like whack-a-mole. It's going to be like whack-a-mole.
But I just don't think it's going to be what it was before, because of the diluted market. When you have 11 million coins out
the days of getting a 10x on a Luna over several months, I don't see.
But and then on top of that, what is the space though? What is the majority of people? What are the majority of the people that are in the space? You're looking at degen gamblers who are trying to hit the next meme coin lottery. You're not looking at people.
But I do think money. I do think there'll be money to be made.
And I don't. And I'm not sure that you should be looking at altcoins as long-term investments. But I'm just saying.
No.
I don't see it being as dynamic and as long as it has been in the past. And you may be right. It may be like whack-a-mole, where you have to be on the right coin at the right time in order to catch a profit.
Well, but I'm saying you have your tokens right now, right? And as they go up, you sell.
That's it.
You just
right. You've accumulated over the bear and over these long months where we were waiting for alt season. So now take advantage. Once your coin runs, take that money off the table, pay off some bills, go on a nice vacation with the family, do whatever you need to do. But, to make sure that you're taking profits, even if you have it to reinvest it, take it off the table and reinvest it. Do something with it. Don't round trip
Yeah,
your
and we'll
bags.
we'll
That
give
is the
an
worst
update
possible thing that you can do, is to watch your coin
because
go
alt
through the roof
season.
and then go back through the floor and miss out
Absolutely.
on all those
And
profits.
because alt season, hey, how you doing, Flipcoin? Because of alt season being so delayed, we'll do an update on our alt picks for the next 4.5 to 5 months because that's what we got left. I honestly think November we'll probably have a Bitcoin high, a local high, not not multi year, but a local high. And I do think we'll have some type of bear. Is it going to be like the other bear markets? I can't tell you, but I think we'll have some type of bear market. I still think we'll have another cycle. But probably this will be the last one, most likely. Um, but I would it shock me if Bitcoin never goes below 100K? No, not at all. We'll have to wait and see. So keep it here, keep it locked and loaded. We're going to rev it up as the summer continues. This is kind of like our first show of the summer, and we gave you guys a long one. Take advantage. Go out, do your own research, and let's make some money together. For Mr. Froman's AZ Crypto, have a wonderful day. Please